And now going to the actual prompt design, the most important technical type of prompts are system prompts, user prompts, and assistant prompts. And any large language model from the large providers actually sticks to this distinction. No matter whether it is OpenAI or it is Anthropic, they do have this distinction. So it's worth spending some time on figuring out what they do. A system prompt is a prompt that provides the main objective, the instructions, the context, and the guidelines to a large language model. It basically sets the stage for the task and tells the LLM what it has to do and what role it must play. This role is very often called also the persona of the LLM. Like, imagine you are an architect or a linguist. User prompt is the actual specific example of the task. So while the system prompt has the general instructions and guidelines, user prompt is do this, evaluate this translation. And then we have assistant prompts, and these are basically examples that we can include in the compositional prompt, where we want to help the LLM understand if we have this question, then a good answer is this one. Assistant prompts are usually a pair of example question and example answer. So today we're going to focus in this part on prompts for evaluating the quality of translation, like AILQA, because I think this is the part that we are most interested in, and also the ones that is hardest to get right. So let me give you the kind of prompt. I know it's very small, but I couldn't fit it. Yeah, but I'll read it all aloud. Yeah. Let me give you an example of a system prompt, right? So it goes as follows. You are an excellent Italian reviewer, specialized in English to Italian localization. This is our persona. Your task is to review English to Italian translation pairs and detect any localization errors in the translated content, considering the following error severities. This is our task. And then we say, what are the severities? Critical severity is used for errors that, are bad. Their error value is 50. Notice that I've put 50 in XML tags. Large language models from the big providers are trained to parse XML tags. And if you want to have some very specifically defined value returned from them, enclose it in tags. That's going to help the parsing a lot and ensure a more consistent response. Then we say that high severity is assigned to errors that have noticeable impact on the quality. They may affect the overall understanding, the general MQM thing, their error value is 10. And minor severity is used for errors with minimal impact on the understanding. Their error value is 1. These are our guidelines. Okay, so we have the role, the task, the guidelines. And then we say, calculate the total error value according to the identified errors, because we want to get a score, okay? Then we have the user prompt. This is what you actually got to do. Evaluate the following pair. Source language, English. Source segment, I love data science. Target language, Spanish. Target segment, me encanta la ciencia de datos. Okay, so is it a good translation? Is it not a good translation? And we want to help you. We want to give an example. So as an example, we add to the prompt. Now, if you get the question, evaluate the following pair, source language English, source segment I love data science, target language French, target segment j'adore la science des données, then the correct answer that we expect from you is total error points 1, and an explanation that the translation has a minor error because the correct translation is science des données instead of science de données. Okay, there is an S missing. Fine. So now let's get going and hope that the internet connection is good enough. We will be building an LK prompt. Let me see how much time I have. Anybody tracking the time? Yeah, I have 17 minutes. That's such a luxury. Okay, maybe I was going too fast. I'm sorry for that. Watch the recording. Play it at half speed. That's my usual problem. Okay, so We will be running an LQA on translation pairs. So I have pre-prepared a data sample which contains translation pairs. The way it goes is the following. We have a source language, and it's English in all cases. Then we have a source segment, and the source segment says, I am embarrassed because I don't speak some language well. And the language I don't speak well is the language into which this sentence needs to be translated. So I'm embarrassed because I don't speak, Japanese well, must be translated into Japanese. I'm embarrassed because I don't speak English well, must be translated as into, it shouldn't be translated into English because it's in English. Okay, Spanish well, then it must be translated to Spanish, okay? Then we have the target language, then we have the translations. Some of them contain errors on purpose, others don't contain errors. Some of them contain critical errors, others don't. Okay, so now we want to run an LQA prompt on that sample and ask the large language model, and I'll be working with GPT models, to evaluate the quality report error score and an explanation what is bad. So I have a little app here. Unfortunately, I cannot really zoom it. So it's really small font because I need to change the resolution of the screen and I don't want to do that. So I'll be reading everything out and I'll be explaining to you what I'm doing. Feel free to move forwards if it's too small, and I'm sorry for that. This is kind of a play app which I have just to demo prompts, right? It's a bit rudimentary and the prompt is rudimentary. So just a disclaimer, this prompt that I'm going to show you here is not the ultimate LQA prompt, okay? Don't try that at home, or rather, try that at home, but don't deploy it in your services, okay? So what I have here are prompts. I have a system prompt, which says, you are an excellent, and now pay attention, I'm not hard coding the language. I'm putting here, you're an excellent target language translator, because I want to have a master prompt, applicable universally and reusable. So I don't want to have one prompt for Italian and another one for German. I want to have one prompt, and then I want to plug in the word German, Italian, Spanish, French, whatever, at runtime. So I'm using placeholders. You're an excellent target language reviewer specialized in source language to target language translations. And your task is to review a source language to target translation pair and detect any localization errors. And then come those critical, the high and minor severity definitions that we already saw. And then we say, calculate the total error points, and give them as total error points, and think twice before you respond. And if you don't know anything, don't make it up, just come back and ask for clarification. Yeah. So this is our system prompt. Then we have the user prompt, and the user prompt is the sentence on which the evaluation must be done, right? Evaluate the following pair, source language placeholder, source segment, then the source segment comes in. It can be different at every run. Target language placeholder, and then the target language segment gets populated. And I have created two assistant prompts. One is evaluate the following pair, source language, ENUS, target language, I'm embarrassed because I don't speak French well, je suis embarrassé parce que je ne parle bien français, and then the answer that I expect is, well, it would have been better if you used a different translation of embarrassed, like je n'ai, because embarrassé doesn't sound so good. And then I have another assistant prompt. You can have as many assistant prompts as you want, as many as it's practical, and as many as it's safe to not confuse the model, because prompts must be short, clear, and concise. So if you put too much, then the model just gets distracted in a way. Okay, so our second prompt is about Norwegian. So I have, I'm embarrassed because I don't speak Norwegian well. Jeg fløy fordi jeg ikke snakker godt norsk. It actually has a mistake. It doesn't have the negation. For those who speak Norwegian, and I'm sure there are many of you here. So the translation in Norwegian, that's the answer we expect, has a critical mistranslation error because it doesn't contain the negation. Okay, so we feed it a wrong sentence and we say we expect that you tell us this is 50 error points, it's critical, and the problem is there is no negation. Fine. So first thing I'm going to do is, I think this is my, yes, this is probably my first one. Hope that the internet connection is good. I'm going to run all of these prompts in the following sequence. First, I have the system prompt, general task description. Then I have a user prompt, applied your evaluation to this segment. Then I have the first assistant prompt, the French example. Then I have the second assistant prompt. Now I'm going to run it. Count till 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, just 4 seconds. Last time it was 6. And let's read the responses. The responses are in the column called completion, right? We can, if you want, we can actually even evaluate, but I don't think we will go through all of that. Okay. First completion. Oh, I'm so sorry for the mistake in my previous response. Total hallucination. The correct translation in Norwegian would be, like, no, the first one is about Italian. Second one, again, it's about Bulgarian. Apologize for the mistake. And the Norwegian translation would be, so as you see, it's like totally wrong. It's super confused. Why is it confused? The reason it is confused is because of the order of the prompts that we had, okay? We start with system, then we have user, then we have example 1, example 2. Example 2 is about Norwegian. And the poor thing thinks it's all about Norwegian, okay? And then it doesn't know what to do, and then typically LLMs apologize when they don't know what to do. Fine. So it didn't work well. And as a prompt designer, you need to analyze, what is it? What is it? The word Norwegian that pops up in almost all the answers tells us, well, maybe it got like thrown off the right way by the Norwegian assistant prompt. And here I must make a note. This is GPT 3.5 Turbo, as you can see. And in OpenAI models, you should put the user prompt last and the assistant prompt before that. But that is not so. That's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to take the user prompt and put it last. But that's not a universal rule. If you work with Anthropic's Claude, then they work better if you put the examples last. So whatever whatever I say now, it's guidelines, tips, ideas, okay? Not universally applicable. Every LLM has its own specificities, and a prompt designer must figure them out. And by now, it's known that for Anthropic, you put first user, then example prompts. For LLMs that come from OpenAI, you do it the other way around. You know, maybe Meta is like Llama is a completely different thing. So now let's try again. Let's see what will happen now. I'm still running GPT 3.5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. The connection is better. Okay, so what do we have? First, Italian. 1 error point. The translation in Italian is almost perfect. The only minor error is the use of feminine imbarazzata instead of the masculine imbarazzato, which is maybe good, yeah, to match the gender of the speaker. No, we don't know what the gender of the speaker is. That's not correct. Then Bulgarian, almost correct. There's a minor error. The word dobre should be placed before the verb govoria, which it is not because it actually follows it. So another hallucination, like total hallucination. So not good. Let's go to German. German has a spelling issue. Deutsch is written without an S. Okay, just a minor spelling issue, which probably many people will just totally ignore. But according to the LLM, it has a high severity error. No, this is not. I mean, we've spent with Katka ages to convince reviewers that the spelling issue is not critical, okay? So it's not. So what's wrong here? Well, obviously, GPT 3.5 just doesn't get it. And then, instead of going and changing the master prompt and starting to customize it and kind of adapt it to every language, first thing that a prompt designer should do is try a different model. Okay, try a different model. So let's change to GPT-4. I need to run call the test, the demo run differently. Now it should be 14. 1, 2, 3. Maybe I can take a question while we're waiting. Yeah, yeah. Actually, that's not a bad idea. Any questions? It's a little thing we developed to demo. Yeah, it's not production app. It's like really. That's why it's so basic. Yeah. There you go. Let's see. I mean, it's really about whether you agree or not. I don't know what it will respond. I haven't done it before. So, Italian, we have a high severity error because the English sentence does not specify the gender, but the Italian translation uses the marked form, indeed, of feminine. Okay, embarrassed feminine. Correct translation would be to use the masculine form if the speaker is male, and also if the feminine form is the speaker is female. And because we don't know what the speaker is, what gender, then we need to go for the default masculine form, like gender-neutral language aside, okay? Which actually LLMs are still not trained on gender-neutral data, so they make very good judgments without this additional layer of the political correctness, okay? Brilliant, perfect, that's exactly what it is, I totally agree. Bulgarian, the translation is correct, it is. English, the translation in English has a critical error because what it says is it's me omdat het niet goed Engels spreek, okay? So the translation is, I'm embarrassed because I don't speak well English instead of Dutch. It's a very severe accuracy error. Let's go to Spanish, my favorite example. Estoy embarazada porque no hablo bien español. Now, I can imagine situations where this could be true, okay? But generally, it's not an accurate translation because what it basically says, I'm pregnant because I don't speak well Spanish, since embarazada is one of those false friends, and it does not mean embarrassed. And it correctly assigns 50 points. All the rest is correct. So Korean, well, actually Korean, I cannot judge myself because I don't speak Korean and Japanese. Any Korean, Japanese native speakers here? Is it okay? The translation of the Japanese?
No, I think it was fine earlier.
Oh, okay. Good. Then we have Indonesian, no idea. Swedish, yes, totally correct. Critical error because it does not have the negative particle inte. So it actually says, I'm embarrassed because I do speak Swedish well. Okay. So this is pretty good. GPT-4 gets it, assigns accurate error points, and explains in an adequate way what the problem is. What I'm bothered by is that it's very wordy. Like you need to really, I mean, you could say it in a shorter way, right? And this is a typical problem with LLMs. They are extraordinary verbose. But we can fix that. So let's go and change the system prompt because we want to give that instruction, you know, to apply all the time. So let's say answer in 30 words, 20 words. Do I still have time, Balázs? Okay, that's the last run. Okay, so I need to now save that. Hope this, nah, I will try without saving it. So I'll remove the old prompt, add the new system prompt saying be short, and I need to put it first. So let's run this one final try and see whether we will get it short, 20 words. Questions? Mega prompt. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you can see actually what it looks like here in the preview. What you get is a concatenation of all the prompts. This is what is sent through the API call to the API. Yes. It's counted at once. In fact, I find it a bit confusing, the terminology that is used, because to me, user, system, and assistant are prompt components. And when you put them together, you get one compositional prompt. But in the NLP world, you know, in the AI researchers, who are not linguists, obviously, talk about that as prompts, right? So then you can say we have prompts, and then we have a compositional prompt that we send to the LLM. Let's look at the responses. Brilliant. Let's hope they are correct. I think they are. So we have 10 points for Italian, because if the speaker's gender is unknown, it's better to use masculine form. Let's see Dutch. It has a critical error because, no, that's totally wrong. It shouldn't be Netherlands instead of English. Oh, yeah, no, it should be. Yeah, correct, that's correct. Then Deutsch should be with the S and so on. So I would say that's a pretty successful prompt. But not enough to run it in real production, just warning, because the data sample that we run it on is fairly easy, okay? It's not the kind of text we work with. So this is just an example how to approach building a prompt, and I wish you good luck in your prompt design work. Thank you.